Have you ever ran a webinar or masterclass that you thought was amazing? You got brilliant feedback from it. Everything went as well as it could have done, only to get to the selling part and have crickets. No one actually buy when you make the offer. And it normally comes down to one of these three mistakes that I'm going to share with you in today's video. If we have not met, my name is Teresa Heath-Wareing, and after 20 years in marketing and working with hundreds and hundreds of online business owners to help them grow their audience, launch with confidence, and actually sell their online products, I am going to share with you in these videos what actually works in the online space and what you need to avoid if you want to grow your online business. If you're in the online space, you've probably either done a webinar or masterclass or attended one, or you definitely know what they are. They are something that we've been using for years in the online space. And although they've been around for a long time, they are actually still really, really important when it comes to selling your online offer. They are really effective. But the mistake that some people make is they think that the webinar is just a webinar if you're doing a webinar. Let me explain. If you're doing a challenge or a boot camp or something like that, people think, well, I'm not doing a webinar and therefore I don't need to know how to do one. But the truth is, at some point during that challenge or boot camp, you are going to make an offer. And when you make an offer, that is at the point where effectively you are doing what we teach when we're talking about webinars. You're effectively teaching them something and then you're making an offer to your product or service. So even if you're thinking, I don't ever want to do a standalone webinar or masterclass, they're basically the same thing, then I would still pay attention to this video because these three mistakes could be hurting your conversions regardless of how you're launching. So let's look at mistake number one. One of the biggest mistakes I see is that people think a webinar or masterclass is a free training and they treat it like a free training, which of all the mistakes, I kind of like this one because it's really nice, because it means that you are delivering something so awesome to the people that you are speaking to. But the problem when you're delivering a free training is you are giving them so much that actually you're not leaving any room for them to want your product or service. Or you are giving them so much that they're then thinking, let me go and try that because I've already had so much amazing content from you. And you're not structuring it like a webinar. A webinar has a very specific structure that I teach. The first part of a webinar is about setting the scene. The middle part of the webinar is about delivering the content. And the last part of the webinar is about making the offer. And in future videos, I will break that down even further. But for this one, I just want to cover these mistakes. And what happens is when you treat it like a training, you literally blend all of those three steps into one, which is teaching them something. So if you have gone in and you are basically just giving an hour's free training, that is not a webinar. The other way to think about it is normally in a webinar, we teach the what and the why and not the how. Your product and service is the how. So let's say I wanted to teach you about sales pages. I would talk about what a sales page is, why we need a sales page, and then how to do the sales page would be the product that I was selling at the end. My belief is that we give a little bit of the how. I still want to give them something good. I want them to walk away from any webinar that they come to of mine going, I got some really good value, whether or not they actually signed up to the thing that I was offering them. But when someone does a training or looks at it like a training, they're basically giving way too much of the how and they're not focusing enough on the what and the why. Mistake number two. Mistake number two is that you are not proving that you are an expert enough throughout the webinar or masterclass. What I mean by this is we need to show them that we know exactly what we're talking about and we are the person who can help them fix the problem or pain that they've got. Now, what normally happens in lots of webinars that I watch, and one of the things that I do in my Grow, Launch, Sell program is I actually review people's webinars. So one of the features of the program is that you get my eyes on your stuff. And sometimes people submit their webinar presentations and I go through them and have a look at them. And one thing that I see often before they've worked with me is they are literally waiting till the end and at the very beginning to show someone you're an expert. So what tends to happen is they have a slide at the very beginning that says, I'm brilliant because, and they list all their accolades and they list all things like they're basically trying to apply for a job. And then at the end, when they've done everything, they go, this is what a couple of people have to say about working with me. And they throw in a couple of testimonials. This is a mistake. We should be proving to them all the way through that masterclass, that webinar, that we are brilliant at what we do and we are the expert. How do we do this? What we do is, first off, at the beginning, we don't go, here's my bio, this is why I'm great. We tell a story about us and why it is that we are so good at the thing we've got to. So that has to be a really, it's really important that it is a story, but also it's not really long. We don't spend a whole lot of time doing that because at the end of the day, people aren't really that interested in who you are and what makes you so brilliant. So we have to reframe it in a different way. So in the first section, in the setting the scene, one of the key parts in that section is that we share our story as to basically how we got so good at the thing we are and why we're so passionate about it. But then the key bit comes all the way through. We need to be giving them proof that we are good at what we do. One of the ways in which we can do this is by providing case studies and testimonials for every single point that we're demonstrating. So let me give you an example. If I go back to my example of sales pages, I might say, when I'm talking about 3 things that you need on a sales page in my free training, in my masterclass, my webinar, I might say that one of the things that you need is a really sexy headline in order to hook people in. And then what I might do is, once I've told them the what and the why of the sexy headline and maybe given them a little bit of the how, I then would go just like such and such did. And I would pick one of my students or one of my clients that I'd work with, and I would demonstrate what they did, and I would share the outcome that they got. So for instance, I would go just like Jane did. Jane changed her headline and got an increased conversion by X amount of percent and sold X amount of percent. Every time I make a point, I'm going to insert a case study or testimonial that basically A, proves the point I'm making, but B, proves that I'm the expert and makes me credible. Then when we get to the end, we're going to still include those things. So I have a section in my webinars that normally is, let me show you what's possible if you continue to work with me. And then I would add in more case studies and more testimonials. And if you watch any of the big people doing their masterclass and webinars, they are roughly giving you anywhere between 15 and 20 case studies for an hour or an hour and a half webinar. So they are packing in a lot of evidence that they are good at what they say they are and that they can get results. And then mistake number 3 that I see is that you rush the sales part at the end. Now, when I teach webinars, I normally have a rough time guide that you can have, which is setting the scene should take 10 to 15 minutes. This is on an hour webinar. Delivering the content should be around 30 minutes. And making the sale or making the offer should be between 10 and 15 minutes. And I know that that sounds terrifying to some people because that's actually quite a long time to be talking about your offer and to be encouraging a sale. But I promise you that there is a way in which you can do it that doesn't feel horrible or sleazy. But that's the kind of time that you need to devote to it. So what tends to happen, or what I see, is people deliver a great webinar, it's mainly a training, and then their very last slide is, if you want to continue working with me, then please take a look at whatever the offer is, and they move into the Q&A. That is not going to cut it. We need to slow that right down, and we need to break it down. So the thing that we need to do is we introduce the offer. Now, normally at the point I finish delivering the content, I then kind of say to them, you came here today because, and I remind them of their pain points. And I then say, I would like to invite you to join me in the next intake of Grow, Launch, Sell, or whatever it is. At this point, we need to take them through very slowly what this offer includes. And this can feel really uncomfortable, but it's so important. We need to explain to them every detail about the things that they're going to get when they join the program. And we need to do this from 2 angles. We need to give them the features and we need to give them the benefits. In the features, we're basically listing out all the things they get. So for my program, I would talk about the fact of there is a full course that looks at how you grow your audience, how you launch your offers, and how you sell your offers. I would then say to them that you get coaching calls with me twice a month where I answer your questions. You get a mindset session. You get my eyes on your stuff. So I actually look at your funnels and your sales pages, and I film myself giving you feedback so that you can make changes. I also have a template for everything. So I would be listing all of the features. And then what I would do is I would list all the benefits. And the benefits are the things that they're going to be able to do or how their life is going to look once they have those features. So for instance, I might say that one of the benefits of having my eyes on your stuff is that you actually get to know whether what you've created is going to work or not. And you don't have to waste time putting that sales page out there and wondering if it's going to work. So what is it that it's going to do for them? It's going to save them loads of time. It's going to make them more money. And just as a side point, most business owners' main priority is save me time, make me money. So we need to make sure we're listing the benefits and the features, and we need to make sure we're taking our time going through it. And then we need to give them the cost. Then we need to add any bonuses. And I will at some point record a video about how important and crucial the bonuses are. That whole section should be taking around 10 or 15 minutes. You should be taking your time. It should be a whole part of the webinar or masterclass where you're actually making the offer. It shouldn't just be tagged on the end. So let me remind you of those 3 mistakes that people can make that are going to massively affect your sales from the back of a webinar. Mistake number 1 is you're treating it like a free training. Mistake number 2 is you are not showing your credibility throughout the whole training and your experience. And mistake number 3 is that you are rushing through the offer at the end. If you are an online business owner, a course creator, membership owner, or coach, and you want to know more about how you can make more money with your online offer, then make sure you hit the subscribe button and follow me along, and I will see you in the next video.